Well, I told you we'd be back, but sooner than I thought we would be, because now we're going to do something we've not done on this network before. We're actually going to combine the two biggest things on this network. And technically speaking, given who it's about, technically three biggest things on this network, if you really talk about attending said event. We're going to talk about Fighting with My Family today. And you know that normally this is an AJ's movie review, and it's going to be a traditional AJ's movie review, but with an added caveat of the fact that, number one, it's got myself and Ashley, and it's in podcast form. So if you want to interact with us, you're more than welcome to. Given the fact that it's 5:15, or just turned, I got it, on a Friday night at the beginning of March. I don't know if you're going to be here live, but if you are, welcome to the first ever AJ's Movie Reviews Popcast, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, would be in podcast form, would be Ashley.
Fucking Green Book, I'm still not over it.
And of course, if you want Ashley's opinions and my opinions on what happened with the actual Oscar ceremony, you can check out a video. It's literally the first thing you see on this playlist when you open it up on your web browser. And of course, because it is his segment, I must introduce the host of this, and that would be AJ.
I guess if you want to call it that.
Well, technically speaking, we're doing the same format. You're just missing, we have 3 extra windows instead of one voice in front of a camera in a chair. Now we have 3.
Way, I'll be much more comfortable this way, I think. So.
I would say so. So, well, first off, before we get started, real quick, I saw the movie last night. Ashley, when did you see it?
Last night as well.
Yep. AJ, when did you see it?
Tuesday.
Yeah. Tuesday would have worked, but plans were impossible to make that happen. But I did see it last night. I did not have a discount of any kind. I paid full price. It was a 5:00 showing. And it would be the first time I have gone to the theater since it's changed to Cinemark without anybody else. So yeah, this is the first time I've gone to a movie by myself. Green Book actually is just opened back in the theater today. And A Star is Born, with apparently added footage, is going to be also on in many cineplexes, including mine. So Tuesday, I might do a double feature. I guess we'll see what happens. But let's talk about this, because obviously when this movie got announced, it was a big deal. A lot of rampant rumors were around, like the whole thing about Vince Vaughn playing Jake the Snake Roberts. I can't forget that. Things like that. And
I know that like every time a wrestling movie is announced now, the first thing people think is that it's the Benoit movie.
Yeah, Ring of Hell will eventually get made. I have no doubt in my mind. But
because the only thing I kept thinking about this movie going in was, is it as totally random as it seems to me? Because it did start off like it was going to be a wrestling movie, and there was the whole Vince Vaughn as Jake the Snake rumor. And then it was after that I learned that Stephen Merchant was writing and directing it, which I was not aware. The only connection of any of these people I would have ever made with that is Nick Frost, because of the whole thing where they studied like WWE and used wrestling moves in The World's End.
Right.
And then like the very last thing I learned was that it was going to be about Paige, of all people. So like the combination of that and Stephen Merchant and Paige, is this as random as it seems to me?
And I think that's where Ashley chimes in.
Oh, God. You said before Ashley chimes in. What were you going to say, Owen?
No, and then this is where Ashley chimes in.
Oh, okay. Honestly, on paper, Merchant shouldn't work. if you think about it. It's just like, you know, he really doesn't come from a wrestling background. He had to do as much research as like Florence had to do, at least from what I've heard from like the making of and whatever.
Right.
Which, considering what he's obviously had to learn in what I think this has been in production roughly for maybe 2 years, because this was before Florence Pugh even became a thing. So I think she just filmed Lady Macbeth, and they cast her for this. Because what, they filmed this about 18 months ago, was it, Owen? I know we talked about it.
That sounds about right.
They taped it after one of the Raws, which I think was like the West Coast ones.
Staples Center.
Yeah, because it's West Coast, it's obviously, well, you can get away with being kept over for an hour from 8 till 9, because obviously if it's East Coast, it's going to be 11 till midnight.
It was
It's
in
like,
February.
well, there ain't going to be many people staying. February, what, 2017?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so basically 2 years. And that apparently, what the bit that they filmed, the set piece at the end, the Raw after WrestleMania, was the 4th day of shooting. So Florence was sort of really in the deep end, apparently. So yeah, considering the expertise of what Merchant had to do, I was surprised. In all honesty.
Yeah, I had also learned really late that it was Florence Pugh playing her. Like, that kind of caught me by surprise. It's like, she's like getting into prestige projects already. This is kind of a weird direction to go.
That's why I was buzzing for her. Well, me and Owen were buzzing for her last year at the BAFTA when she was up for BAFTA Rising Star.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which of course didn't go to her because it went to Daniel Kaluuya, because arguably he had the bigger year. In all honesty, which is why I was buzzing about Jessie Buckley this year. I guess it's the case of the one that I want to win actually has a better year the following year, maybe.
Perhaps.
Because there's been a lot of acclaim from what I've seen from reviews for her performance, which I say is fair because, as I say, she was 18 or 19 when doing this. I guess that makes it perfect for her, considering Paige was obviously, what, 19 or 20 when she got signed up?
19.
Yeah, I was reading something. I don't know how accurate it is, but the statistic I saw said that Paige now joins Mark Zuckerberg as like the only people to be at the time under 30 and have a biopic, which it kind of adds to the whole randomness of it. There's an exclusive list of people that's just Mark Zuckerberg and Paige.
Very interesting.
Except the Mark Zuckerberg one, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like. Whereas Paige is like, yeah. It's the only authorized film from said person.
I mean, before we get started talking about the movie itself, I do want to mention AJ brought it up right off the get-go with the Ring of Hell movie, which is probably stuck somewhere in purgatory at this point, trying to, pun intended.
The last thing I heard about it was Lexi Alexander was signed up to it, and then I didn't really hear anything else.
We are the prognosticators on this network. We make things happen. We predict things and they happen. Case in point, a lot of things that have happened on this network were said first on this network that happened in reality. Somebody in a casting agency right now, I want you to take a look at his performances and make my casting come true. Give me Steve Zahn as Chris Benoit. I will not let that go. And Dennis Quaid as Vince McMahon, of course.
Surely the best person, considering how they're wanting to do edgy new roles, would be Zac Efron.
Maybe Pegasus Kid, but not Chris Benoit. But yeah, And then, of course, the newest thing that we hear as the Chris Hemsworth is attached now to a Hulk Hogan movie that's going to be airing on Netflix.
I saw an interesting comment on that, and it's weird that me, of all people, would jump to it and say, that's an interesting idea. It'd be cool if they kind of looked into it. Because people are talking about like how shady Hogan can be, and how if there's enough involvement that it'll probably like glamorize him in a pretty inaccurate way. I saw a suggestion that said they should make the Hogan movie like I, Tonya.
That'd be interesting.
Like in that same sort of vibe. And as somebody who hates I, Tonya, I actually kind of like the idea of a Hogan movie in that style.
Well, we saw what Todd Phillips did with War Dogs. He sort of glamorized these guys who, when you think about it, did a shit ton of war crimes for supplying the guns, so it sort of fits.
I mean, the question is, like, there's rumors going around right now talking about Chris Evans playing Macho Man Randy Savage and everything, and I was like, okay. And the $1 million question that I gotta ask, if we're gonna make a Hulk Hogan biopic, who's gonna play Brutus Beefcake? Brutus Beefcake is gonna play Brutus Beefcake. Because of course.
I mean, you already have people in Fighting With My Family doing the Man on the Moon thing, where it's like, even though they're so many years later, they still play themselves. So
yeah. Walking cameos. Actually, am I imagining things when I see Wolfgang in that montage?
Probably. I'm still trying to find out whether there's any way that AJ can see Walk Like a Panther. Dear fuck.
What is that?
That's the other wrestling movie that basically came out this time last year.
Yep.
That only came out in the UK. And is the worst wrestling film featuring Lena Headey. Admittedly, there's only 2, but it's like... Oof.
We watched this movie a long time ago. I watched this movie a long time ago. I don't recall if AJ watched it or not, and I'm not sure if Ashley's ever seen it, but we need to do a review of Kayfabe.
Oh, no.
Yes, please.
There's no way that's not one of the worst wrestling movies ever made. There's no way.
No, it's entertaining.
Oh,
that guy that thinks he's just incredible. Oh man, I'm telling you, like just incredible mixed with Nick Gage, which I mean, that's pretty much the same person, but the same thing. At least back in CCW days, in the like the long ago, in the way before time in the early 2000s. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I've just sent a link to Owen, which may have to be conveyed to AJ to see how not to do a wrestling movie.
Ashley, I have a link to send you, AJ. So yeah, lots of wrestling movies have been made, of course. Lots of television series have been made, like that Random Time where we had the Body Slam movie with Roddy Piper and Dirk Benedict and Jesse the Body Ventura in tag team. The movie about the TV shows about the cops who ended up becoming the wrestlers turning into cops, which it was Piper and Ventura, which a lot of people don't even know of that movie's existence. Yeah, but we bring it to this one. And in 2012, a documentary came out, and apparently Dwayne Johnson saw this documentary and he's like, hey, I'm going to make Paige's life story. And even though it's very short, but we're going to do as of right now, moving up to present day. And that's where we get this movie started.
Obviously, my brother is significantly more into wrestling than I am.
Yes.
And when I was telling him about the movie, he told me that you could basically make, like, Paige has basically lived 2 entirely separate biopics.
Yeah.
She's lived the inspirational biopic, and she's lived the downfall biopic, and we only saw the inspirational one.
Yeah.
So in all lessons, if you want to talk about that, Paige is basically Tammy Sitch.
Yeah, but she hasn't gone off the rails as much as her. Admittedly,
Thankfully
yeah.
not. She's back
but
in
I
jail
think
again, apparently.
Sunny, that is, not Paige.
Did anybody else flinch when Dwayne Johnson actually said the word sex tape, even though he was talking about Vince Vaughn?
Yeah.
I was kind of
I was
hoping.
like, oh, the irony. I know that was probably written before the stuff leaked.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping like the movie would end on like a freeze frame of her, so that we could say there's more than one movie that ends with a shot on Paige's face. But
oh boy, I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit. Not that, but the Dirk Diggler shot movie, like the coming to reality shot right before the final match on the actual movie. So this is AJ's show, obviously. So we're going to let him take the reins here. But first, we welcome Brian to chat. He says, "Hey guys, long time no seen." Oh wait, this isn't August. No. If it was August, I might be in a lot different state in many ways. Not state, physical state, emotional state, mental state, not actual state, because I ain't leaving this state. But
it's not even August Osage County.
No. Probably wouldn't, and probably would be talking about Halloween Horror Nights 29 right now too, in the present tense, since it's next month. But yes, this is a surprise because, like I said, it makes sense to combine wrestling and film in the same review, and that's the reason why we're doing it in podcast format. So, AJ, take it away.
Oh God! All right. Well, one of the first things I noticed was I was trying to figure. It felt a bit odd that it was a movie that was in such like it did the whole limited release thing first, like to the point that I actually thought we weren't going to get it here at first.
Right.
And then that started to make a little sense when because obviously the theater I go to was once your theater.
Yep.
So sometimes when it feels weird, it's so mainstream of a theater. Sometimes it feels weird watching certain movies there.
Oh yeah, totally. It
was interesting to me because I was talking about how obviously Stephen Merchant wrote and directed and all that, so it's going to have his style and his sense of humor in it. Because obviously he started off doing like co-directing movies with Ricky Gervais. But yeah, with like the home setting for the family and Stephen Merchant's touch, it's like I wasn't expecting just how British it felt at the start, to the point that this doesn't feel like a movie that would be at this theater. It really doesn't. But then, obviously, once she ended up in Florida and all that, then it started to feel more like, oh yeah, this is like feels more mainstream now. As it sort of turned into what I guess you could say is the cliche inspirational biopic, with Vince Vaughn basically being our sort of Louis Gossett Jr. and an officer and a gentleman type character. I had heard something about Vince Vaughn basically being like a composite of like 5 people or something.
It's 3. It's weird, and Ashley, you probably know the 3, don't you?
Well, I'm guessing Bloom.
No, surprisingly not.
Maybe Regal?
Surprisingly not. The word around is it's an amalgamation of Bill DeMott, Sarah D'Amato, and Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, no, I see. Bill, I don't, because there wasn't enough. Well, if it was truly Bill, it would probably have to be a 15 certificate or an NC-17.
Accurate.
Well, no, I guess R. Well, no, it's verging on NC-17, depending on what.
Oh, you mean like Vince Vaughn's PG-13, PG-rated promos?
Yeah.
It was like PG Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
So basically, the toned down version of his character in Hacksaw Ridge. You could probably.
Bingo.
Yeah. I heard a lot of people give comparisons to his character basically being sort of a more kid-friendly version of the Hacksaw Ridge character that he played.
But before we get further into the podcast, we want to welcome the birthday boy to chat. Welcome, Jeremy Mills. Don't worry, your wrestling content will return this coming week. It was kind of busy and hectic this past week, so that's the reason why we didn't do shows. We're also going to talk about the cameos in a few, but AJ, continue.
And so one of the things I wasn't sure about was a lot of the characters around her. Because you do kind of wonder in movies like this, like exactly how the people are being portrayed for the sake of the main character being the hero and all that. Are those girls that she trained with supposed to be anybody in particular, or are they just plot devices?
They had the same gear of certain people.
Yeah.
That's
the one with the gold spangly top seemed very the way she looked seemed very Summer Rae-ish.
Kelly, actually.
Yeah, but also Summer Rae, because she did have that sort of attire for a bit, and I'm trying to think of other people that would have been there with her.
Right. I mean, it was based off Kelly's gear, but yeah, Summer Rae definitely comes to mind before. The girl with the blue and white, of course, the old Alexa Bliss gear when she was doing like the pixie gimmick when she first started as a babyface. And apparently the other girl was supposed to be Alexa Bliss. Gear alone.
Somewhat.
Well, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about this, but interestingly enough, when you think about inspirational, they're intended to be inspirational movies. You tend to hope you relate to the main character.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain extent, I did find one character extremely relatable, but for a lot of them, he's kind of portrayed as a dick, so I didn't know how to take that. I really felt for her brother in those early scenes. Isn't he the guy? Wasn't he in Mary Queen of Scots? I was trying to place him the whole time, and I couldn't remember. But
I think so.
He was in Dunkirk too.
Yeah, but like
I was trying to forget that Mary Queen of Scots existed. Yeah, Jack Lowden. Let me see what else he's been in. He made his debut in '71, so Oh God, he was Tony Benn in the United Kingdom. I actually remember now. He was Morrissey in the England Is Mine biopic of Morrissey's early years. As well.
He kind of came off looking like maybe like a younger Simon Pegg too, in many of the scenes, just in the face alone.
Yeah, I heard somebody.
Shaun the Dead.
Yeah, I heard somebody make the comparison where it's like, in this movie, Lena Headey's married to Nick Frost, but did she step out with Simon Pegg when that child was born? But the thing here about the brother, though, is just that whole thing about like knowing that you have it, but being stuck in place. I found infinitely more relatable than whatever Paige was doing, especially those moments where like. After the whole thing has happened and they've gotten split up and he's out and she's in, and then we just see him trying to go back into his normal life and having a child and all that, and you can just see that he's like dead inside because the dream is so far away.
It's not just displaying her mental health, coming to terms with the situation that she's in, but actually his mental health, because he is clearly going through stuff. When we get to that bit when he's just on the point of probably going like his brother Roy.
Yeah.
Getting into that pub brawl and getting saved at the last minute by his dad. It was just like, if that hadn't have happened, at least in the film, I don't know how far Zach actually went.
And I mean, they're still working as a tag team, I guess, right now.
Yeah, the WAW is now doing a lot of stuff. They're doing quite a lot of charity shows because for quite a lot of people, of course, they were considered persona non grata.
Yep. More of an outlaw
promotion. They got kicked out of the TV studio where they'd done the stuff for years in Norwich because that's where World of Sport filmed their stuff.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, it was like, oh, what are you dealing with these carnies for? They're not true to the wrestling business. And this is World of Sport that had a pretty successful UK tour and a series of 10 episodes, which I wasn't impressed by and clearly didn't get that much of a viewership.
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if they decide to do a second series after the success of this movie, because it seems to be doing very well. It's probably going to be #1 film over here for its opening weekend here, more than likely. But yeah, it's I see what you mean though, AJ. But it's not really the Page movie. The fighting with my family thing doesn't. It's really all about all of them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because when they focus so much on the brother for a while there, it's sort of like a lesser movie would have felt like it just didn't know what story it wanted to tell, but there was enough of a balance to where they just sort of coexisted, and it did sort of embrace the whole telling the whole family story thing as opposed to just hers. But then I guess that also makes you wonder, does that also mean that her story can't sustain a full movie or not? But I don't think that's really matters.
Not
Because
at
the
all.
story he seemed to want to tell from the start. And how there's even the stuff they throw in there where it's like, there's like, even though he kind of combats it when she says it, there are some things in there that actually resonate. Like when she says, just because there's not like a million people cheering for you doesn't mean what you do isn't important.
Exactly.
And it's sort of like, it goes into their story, but it also feels like such a universal thing that it resonates really nicely. But I also like sometimes when they shoot it down, like with Dwayne's big line of "Don't be the next me, be the first you," and then that's supposedly this inspirational thing. But then at the end of the movie, she says like, "That's not advice, that's a tweet," which I like how they kind of took it from both angles.
It's true.
After all that, I just think every time Stephanie speaks about everything that she wants to do, and I just think of that retweet that she did of, was it Jack Dorsey, I think, of Twitter creation fame, saying like philanthropy is the future of marketing.
I believe so.
So yeah, there's enough sound bites that are just like, well, you just got that off the inspirational quotes Twitter feed, didn't you?
I like Zach as well, AJ. I agree with you on that. And I like the very wrestler-esque scene where we're seeing his vision, what was going on in his head as he was realizing he was about to be body slammed on thumbtacks. And as someone,
just that look when he saw the tacks, you could immediately feel his pain.
Yeah. And as somebody that's been slammed on thumbtacks before, no, it's not a fun time, not at all.
I know there was criticism while we were on the Dwayne topic that some of his scenes felt a bit indulgent, like the sort of kicker to the joke we already knew, where he calls Nick Frost and he says, "I'm the Rock," and Nick Frost says, "Yeah, and I'm Vin Diesel, mate." His follow-up to that is, "Let's hope not."
Yeah, nobody. I mean, admittedly, there was only sort of like 7 or 8 people in the screening.
God, that's
maybe because I didn't go.
That's more than I had.
Well, I went to the early. I could have gone to the earlier preview like last week, but didn't, because fucking hell, Wild Rose might be in my top 10 films of the year, and it's only March. So I'm keep an eye out for that when we get to August. But it's been like #1 because I follow the Twitter feed of the people that actually chronicle, the figures, like the equivalent of Box Office Mojo's figures and whatever for the UK. And Fighting With My Family was the #1 film for Wednesday and Thursday because it opened a couple of days early. Not that there's really anything of substantial note going against it, maybe apart from Aftermath. But I don't know how much that's going to get widely received. I won't find out till Monday. But yeah, nobody laughed at it, but I was just like, oh, I see what they did there. I don't know whether that's a Dwayne ad-lib.
Yeah, because the other thing where some people said that it was like Dwayne being indulgent was the ending text, where it was saying where everybody is now, and it says Dwayne Johnson went on to a successful career outside of wrestling, and people thought that was indulgent. I kind of assumed that was played for a laugh.
No, Merchant, I believe Merchant purposely wrote it like that.
Yeah, I didn't find that to be like yeah, there's
I mean,
no way
like with the whole, Ricky Knight is still selling shares in the family business.
yeah,
I doubt he is.
Yeah, there's no way those weren't for
I liked the promoter aspect of Ricky Knight, basically trying to talk one of his workers into doing hardcore by just literally doing it to him, like hitting him with the garbage can lid. And he's like, "Okay," he's like, "You gotta take this," and he's like, and then he hits him anyway. He's like,
do you want to
"Yes,
bowling balls to the dick?
yeah,
60 pound.
that was great." Because it's true. Like, for example, it's like, what will you do for a promoter? I mean, I've heard many of these conversations too.
Here's some posters of Paige signed by her. They're not spelt right.
Where's the eye?
Yeah.
Look at these dolls. Look at these random dolls. And that was the inspiration for the WWE Mattel toys.
It can't be a sweatshop. They're not paying us.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I liked the aspect of everything. I'd like there to have been more wrestling in it, honestly. I understand that may not have been the necessary point, but it'd be nice if there were more scenes for wrestling. But then, given the fact that Florence didn't get much training, so I have a feeling that would not have been the case.
Yeah, I noticed most of the movie's action was the Battle of the Network Stars style obstacle course during the training.
Felt like Tough Enough again.
Also kind of on the Nick Frost thing. Nick Frost is relatively normal looking. At least I would say so. So for some reason, it kind of caught me by surprise because I know and have met some of the people from your wrestling world, Owen.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how all you do is shave off some of his hair, how much he looks like he's in that world.
This is true. Of course. And I mean, there were a ton of cameos in the movie. Some of them blink if you miss it. I'm pretty sure AJ couldn't confirm this, but I'm almost positive. You remember in Ready to Rumble when we saw Canyon wearing an Amazing Jekyll Brothers shirt in the back of the crowd, and you just blink if you miss it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw Danny McBride in the crowd cheering in the final scene. I can't confirm it, but it looked like him.
I'm trying to think who was in the crowd for when they would have been there at the Staples Center doing it in February, because
Danny McBride would make sense.
He might. I'm trying to think what films would have been coming out around that time that it'd be on. Obviously, there were some, like, at least for me anyway, were like half expected. Like, when I was telling you when she first got to Raw and they took her, and it was like they were taking her to see Oz or something. I was like, holy shit, is this a Vince cameo? But it's just the other Dwayne Johnson scene.
Yeah, doing a movie involving NXT that does not involve Triple H kind of is a huge oversight.
Is there any particular reason these people would have been missing, or is it just
They skipped over a lot. Her time in NXT was a couple of house shows, and that was about it. But in real life, she was NXT Women's Champion. Yep. Exactly. She had the belt round her waist when she came out. Yep, and she spoke and didn't get like deer in the headlight shit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you, Stephen Merchant must have just watched High School Musical, because I seriously got serious Zac Efron and Vanessa vibes when she paused. I was like, can I do this? Like, yeah, you did it because you were NXT champion for so long, and then you came up to the main roster. Listen to that crowd pop too. My God, where's Kevin Dunn like piping in crowd noise on that? Because dear Lord, that wasn't loud enough. Because that place exploded when Paige came out for the first time on Raw.
Yeah, with not even being aware at all of like the real footage, like as soon as she froze at Raw, I was thinking, so the movie's fabricating this, right? I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. And here, the biggest problem I had with it: where the heck was the gear? Seriously.
Whose
AJ
gear?
wore that gear later on, much later on.
That was Rosita's gear. That was not
I
AJ
know.
Lee's gear.
I know. She wore gear like that.
Also, Paige's gear.
Yeah, Paige's was totally off too.
Paige's gear that she had in the film was the gear that she had when she debuted in NXT.
Exactly.
But not when she debuted on the main roster.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Fucking Justin Sissom is in this film, apparently. That's the only name that I caught in the credits, but I'm looking, I recognize Charlie Sterling, Paul Robinson.
Oh,
the
wow.
guy from the Swords of Essex was apparently somewhere in there. I believe Kip Sabian was in there as well, but his name, he's using his real name, so you don't know it's him, sort of thing. And apparently, it says Zach actually is in it himself, apparently, as gang lieutenant.
Makes sense.
Oh, was that him that was talking to the one that was supplying drugs?
Yes.
Towards the end?
Yes, it was.
But there were, I mean, and the other one that the only one I distinctly recognized was Mastiff.
Yeah,
in the tryout,
was in the movie, yeah.
Which is ironic because he just got the tryout for WWE UK.
So, I mean, you had the WWE cameos, the long scene with Sheamus and Big Show at catering, which, it was there.
The random Miz cameo for no apparent reason.
Miz just walked by, and all the girls were like, "Ooh, it's the Miz." And that was the end of it. I was like, bye. I love the fact that they credit John Cena when he's literally shown, not at the actual event. Oh, no. He's shown on video footage of the event. Second time I've seen John Cena.
I'm amazed they got Justin Roberts in.
Yeah, no lie.
Considering the bad blood I fought between WWE and them.
I mean, there was a lot of inaccuracies, to say the least. But all in all, like, the biggest problem I had with that was, like I said, it's just like, it wasn't I had a problem with it. I really had a problem with the gear. It just drove me insane. I don't know why. It just drove me so mad, but it did. Because it wasn't realistic. Tag could have worn this shirt and a pair of jean shorts, and she would have been skipping around, and she would have been fine. Her promo, though, was very close, but that was about it.
I just realized how biased I'm probably looking. Because like you guys know about this stuff so much, it's like I spent the whole award season saying I don't give a fuck about inaccuracies in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't give a fuck about inaccuracies in Green Book. Guys, tell me about the inaccuracies in Fighting with My Family.
It feels like we're doing a Blackfish review again.
I guess the time span does make sense for the start. If they were watching sort of like 2000-ish, she would be sort of like 8 or 9.
Right.
Give or take. So I guess that fits. So I wasn't sure about that at the time. I was like, is King of the Ring like way too early, or are they like watching? Because then there was that random graphic when they said the greatest matches, and it's just like, is that like the weirdest plug for the network, even though it didn't exist then?
It was the DVD. Like the greatest matches DVD compilation. That's what they were watching, because I could tell the random shots. And of course, the very like thinly veiled Mick Foley reference that Dwayne made about Vince Vaughn. Talking about getting thrown off the top of a 30-foot cage on pay-per-view to make him look like a star. I like the fact that they kind of strayed away a little bit from like complete insider jargon, because sometimes nowadays they're really heavy-handed on it, and this is coming from me. So, and I like the fact they brought up the word journeyman, because that was the best way to describe Zach. Because that's a true thing. You are a weekend. The terminology that is used in the business is weekend warrior.
Yeah, speaking of the terminology, I was going to ask you, do you think the terminology flowed out of Vince Vaughn's mouth naturally, or did it seem like it didn't quite fit?
Can someone tell me why Stephen Merchant keep calling it the NXT?
Yeah.
That was obnoxious. I hated that. I mean,
Yeah, going back to really what I started saying at the very beginning, is there any word on what drove him to this story, or?
I mean, obviously the big connection is the one that I made with AJ over the phone after I watched the movie. After I saw Vince Vaughn and The Rock fist bump, the only thought that came to my mind was two words: twinkle, twinkle. So that might be part of it too.
Does anybody still remember Be Cool?
Probably not. I do not care. I still love that movie.
I guess there was one other criticism I had, even though it's pretty, it might seem a bit superficial, to the point that I almost didn't bring it up, but whatever. As far as the things that were holding her back, or the things that she was like criticized for on her rise to fame to make it seem like she had it difficult, did this just come off as another one of those movies that, just to throw another difficulty at its main character, we have to pretend that she's not hot? Like every left and right, somebody's telling her she's like unattractive or something, or making some crack about that, and it's like, if she actually was, that would make sense, but it seems really forced.
Well, in the beauty queen land where WWE was at the time, they were just hiring models that didn't really have any athletic backgrounds. I love how Stephen Merchant wrote that in as well, basically saying that you don't know me, you don't know what I've been through. Stuff like that is like, I've wanted this ever since. I'm doing this for my family as well. Don't judge a book by its cover. It's very cliche, but it does work, and it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
They did play it up like she was the ugly duckling because in that group that she was, but no, there's nothing about the true Paige that's not extremely attractive, but they played that down, and that's what they needed to do in this.
Also, they didn't really bring up the fact that Brittany, as she was before that,
Yep.
and Saraya did US gigs for Shimmer and whatever before 2000 and was it been 2009? I guess.
Yeah, it should be around that
2008. I'm trying to find this SmackDown where Dwayne made the cameo because I vaguely remember it, but I don't know when.
We talked about it. We talked about it. It was this way before the network, so.
Yeah, as I say, it was like 10 years ago, so it's like hard to work out what it is. I'm literally like Google searching Rock SmackDown 2009, and it's just like, and when you search London, it's like Port London, so it like doesn't help.
Brian says I hate historical accuracy criticism. It's just a movie.
Pete Dunne never looked like that. Please.
No, he did not. Good Lord.
See, I think I've really said all I was really going to. Really, the only other thing is I wasn't sure how much I liked it or not, like throughout. Like sometimes I felt like I really did, and other times I was like, I don't know. But once I came out of it, I do think I like it as a whole. But I guess it's like the more like cliche biopic-y stuff that kind of stands out as you can like how easy it was for me to tell what was fabricated and what, like, you know, I think is what stood out. But yeah, and like I said, I think the strongest aspect is how they split up and told like her and her brother's story, and how that sort of found a balance, especially the certain events that happened when she came back home and all that. So
yeah, I don't know whether the whole. I think he was rough on her, but I don't know it was like to that extent rough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know whether they actually filmed it. Because I haven't seen the documentary in probably a year or so. I remember watching it the first time because it's like, oh shit, wrestling's on the television.
Was that footage from the documentary on the B-roll after the movie was over on the credits?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
mainly violence.
Yeah.
That line was so good it made it in the film. It's just like... But yeah, the thing they really don't study is like all the shit Soraya, as in Mum, has been through. You know, the fact that she was actually hooked on drugs, homeless, found dead and had to be taken to hospital, you know, lost consciousness. Colt Cabana's interview with her, like, is another thing, which if you don't know sort of the backstory before all this, is worth checking out. Along with the because I think it's available at least on YouTube. If you search Channel 4 Fighting With My Family, I think you should be able to find it in full, because Channel 4 don't give a shit apparently. Plus, it's probably free publicity and whatever. The thing that surprised me is it's an MGM film.
Yeah, that was a weird one too. When I saw that logo, I was like, "That's very odd."
Also, apparently, it's being distributed by everybody. It seems, because MGM are doing it themselves in America. Because United Artists is MGM, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Lionsgate are doing it here, and then everywhere else apart from America and here is Universal. So it's been shipped about to everybody. Also, randomly, Graham Coxon from Blur doing the music sort of charmed me for some reason. I don't know why. I guess so. It had an English tone to some extent. But yeah, I'm pleased to see it's doing well critically. I don't think it was ever going to do well in America because I think there's still somewhat of a snobbishness generally to it. But the amount of people that I've heard over here that have like, because the film review show that I normally listen to on the radio actually has like people giving their reviews as well. The amount of people that have said I was a wrestling fan, but you know, fell out of it, or I've never been a fan of wrestling, that but have enjoyed the film, has pleasantly surprised me.
I mean, they play to general audiences in this. Obviously, wrestling fans are going to dig it because they're used to it. Then they're going to be the nitpickers, like we have been with this, like the comic book guys that are talking about inaccuracies and everything. But I mean, still, it's one of those things that it does appeal to a broad-based audience. It's something that people that are not wrestling fans can enjoy, people that are wrestling fans that enjoy. It's just a well-done movie all across the boards. And there's a lot of things that I would personally change. You're staring at one this whole video, this whole podcast. But still, other than that, I mean, everything played pretty well. And Tessa Blanchard, shout out to her as well. I don't want to forget her either.
Who is mentioned in interviews as the stunt woman.
Yep.
Taya Trinidad is the actress.
Yeah.
But Tessa Blanchard is the stunt woman. Even though Florence did quite a few of the physical stuff herself that she was able to do with the training that she did. So
she did train here at the Performance Center too for a little bit for the movie. So I mean, I think it was 10 days maybe?
Something like that. Certainly for a few weeks before filming.
So yeah, I mean, overall, it was a well done movie. I enjoyed it. There's things I would have changed, of course, as always. But I mean, I had a good time. I had a good time watching the movie. The trailers, AJ's experience sounded very bizarre. Mine was a little bit, it was not out of the ordinary. I don't know Ashley's opinions on the trailers on the movies, but as a former projectionist, I can understand where my movies came in, but I have no idea where yours came in. And considering the fact that's my theater, that's even better.
It's usually that thing where if we get like a movie late or something, they just put whatever the hell on there. that's there. So
I'll be honest with you. If you remember back in the day, whenever we would not get a trailer report, I put what I wanted on there,
but
and I would sometimes take heat for that.
Since I don't actually look at the trailers, it was hard to identify some of them. But at least two of them were animated.
I think it had the same trailers, maybe for Cold Pursuit, which was in the screen beforehand.
Because they copied the digital playlist. That's lazy.
Well,
work, my friends.
I don't know because I came halfway in because I got in late thanks to On the Basis of Sex running 5 minutes late because there isn't 20 minutes of ads and trailers. There's 25 minutes. So the only ones I saw were the Captain Marvel one, which I think is just blanket on because you can pre-book tickets for it. And
Rolling Stock.
I can't remember what else, but we're fighting with my family. Yeah, the one that really made sense. They had What Men Want.
Yep.
Followed by Wonder Park. And I'm like, is it because Tom Baker, the voice of Little Britain, voices the Blue Bear? Is that why you're doing this? Is that what? Is that?
I think we broke Ashley. He just kind of just stopped in the middle of his statement there.
Well, no, it's honestly a case of like, I mean, I got What Men Want to some extent, but then as it's a 12A and how I know that's a 15, and how it's a way more adult film than what should be shown to a 12A audience, it didn't make sense. Whereas Wonder Park did because it's 12A, so like kids can actually see it. So it sort of fits.
Fair.
And Captain Marvel fits because, you know, as I say, one, they're trying to sell a lot of, you know, the tickets because it's on pre-book. But at the same time, it's a female heroine story.
Right.
Which is similar to Fighting With My Family. So it probably makes more sense than showing it on Cold Pursuit, which has barely got any fucking women in it.
I think what the panel's trying to state here, if you wrap everything up, we all like the movie overall.
Yeah. It's not more like a fucking panther.
Ashley, you watch kayfabe immediately.
I already did my review on that. Whether
you did. It's
I don't think AJ needs to just do a review, but like when we talk about if we talk again in August, if I remember by then, whether it's just a case of that was shit, I'll be happy.
Ashley, you need to watch kayfabe as soon as possible.
I'm catching up on the original Cold Pursuit in Order of Disappearance because I want to see whether it just translated badly in the Western version. Because it just intrigued me because it's like that film, I didn't know whether it was trying to be serious or an actual black comedy at some point.
So this was a very interesting experience and experiment as doing a podcast for a movie review. Hopefully you guys and girls out there that are watching right now, whether live or in archive, enjoyed yourselves. I did. I had fun talking about movies again because I don't really get to do that outside of the award season because I don't get to watch anything. But I did want to make it a personal goal to watch this movie theatrically for good reason. And I think I am going to put myself through Green Book theatrically just so I can see what the big hubbub is. But
one thing I do want to mention as well, I thought the blind wrestler thing was a joke.
Is that a shoot?
Yeah. At first, I thought it's a nice little thing, but it's probably just to sort of like do the whole thing, sort of like, you know, this film is inspired by true events, but some events may have been dramatized.
Mm-hmm.
But when the bit was like at the end, no, he actually did train the blind guy, and he's actually a professional wrestler. I was like, fuck yeah, inclusivity.
It was awesome. It was a very
actually brilliant.
Scene too.
Yeah. that just pleasant that goes to show you that they can't be sort of a carny family that can't be trusted. They're willing to sort of like help people with, you know, when you look on paper, you know, like blind wrestler. It's sort of like it doesn't seem that it's able to make sense, but adapt and improve, and Zach's training, and he's out there somewhere. I'm not sure who he is. People probably more in the British scene knowledge that I am will probably know who it is. But I approve.
The match that they had for the WAW show, the one where he tombstoned her at the end. Very interesting. I like that scene too. I like the way that was played off too. It's like it works. It's like, you know, it's like, come on, like lighten up a little bit. It's like, nope. And it's like, I'm just gonna beat this out of you. I'm gonna make you want this bad. So it's like it worked. The movie itself, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. AJ will be back here this weekend with more content. Ashley's content, whenever he sends it, will actually be your video for Thursday. Because I already have his latest review, which actually went up. So we're finally caught up now, thankfully. Sorry about that, guys. It's been really, this last week has been really hectic for a lot of reasons, and I'm very glad it's finally over with. Now we're ready to wait a couple more months when we are getting back into this in August, predicting, and I'll be getting ready for Halloween Horror Nights one way or another. So
all we need is Spike Lee to try and storm out the building, and we'll stop him.
There we go.
That's one thing we didn't bring up, Owen, because we didn't know about it until
I didn't know about it. It was a live show. I didn't know about it. No. But AJ's commentary on the Oscars and the Oscar ceremony itself is up on this network. Ashley just did a brand new Snack Stash. A new one is coming up very soon as well. Bella did a guest star series on Sip and Snack, and I did a new Sip and Snack too. So all that content is available brand new on this network. Wrestling content returns back to Popcast Network this week with more of a wrestling podcast, whether it's a Monday show, a Tuesday show, Wednesday show, whether it's any of those days, it's going to be happening next week. So stay tuned for more information on that on Twitter. So AJ, do you have any final words since this is your segment?
Not really.
All right. So AJ will be back with more of his content. We have a new Versus coming your way. We've got a really nice way to say goodbye to 2018 movies. So that's coming up soon. And more reviews. Who knows what's going to be coming down the way for AJ? We'll see when we get to it. Ashley can be found on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK. Gaming with Ash will be returning in the near future as well. You can follow me on Twitter at SirOwenDisney, and if you'd like to follow the network itself, it's at Popcast Network. If you have personal ideas for Sip and Snack versus the other regular segments on the network, shoot me an email, SirOwenDisney@gmail.com. So once again, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Thank you, Ashley and AJ, for joining today and actually creating a podcast for a movie review for a change. And if you like this, maybe we might do it again. I guess we'll see what happens to make it make any sense.
What major film do you want to see us do this weird format for?
You got to pick up a movie that I would pay money to go see, though, which is hard because I'm cheap. So,
I mean, the only two that I'm thinking off the top of my head are Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame.
I'll see them eventually. I'm not rushing out to see either one right now.
Because I doubt it's going to be little. What the fuck is that trailer? What is that shit?
So that's your video. And until next time, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.